All right, guys, welcome in. Welcome in. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to get right into this. I've said for a long time, especially because I'm from Illinois, so I can say this. Chicago has been one of the most dangerous cities, at least within the last 30 years, that we've had in America. For whatever reason, I mean, they have beautiful parts, River North and, Wrigleyville, North Side, but the South and the West Side are just terrible, terrible, terrible. And it's always been full of crime. Nobody seems to have actually wanted to stop it, change the direction of the crime besides Donald Trump, as far as the president goes. But the problem is, though, as bad as Chicago has always been, I mean, every single weekend, people are getting shot and killed. Every single week. I'm not kidding. Every single weekend. I mean, we saw over Labor Day weekend a few weeks ago. Labor Day weekend, 54 people were shot and 7 were killed. 54 people were shot and 7 were killed. And the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, and the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, they seem to not want to take accountability for this. They seem to not want to take initiative and get ahead of this situation like Donald Trump. Now, the problem is that as an elected official, your main responsibility are to protect the people of that county, city, whatever you are in charge of, whatever city or whatever, you are supposed to represent those people and do in the best interest of those people, regardless if you don't feel it's necessary, right? So if your people are constantly getting attacked left and right, it doesn't matter if you don't like Donald Trump or the president or whoever, you have a responsibility to protect your citizens. Brandon Johnson, as mayor, what are you doing to protect your citizens? Why does Donald Trump have to come in with national troops? Now, when the troops are already there, thank God, we have seen terrible attacks on law enforcement. I mean, we're going to show you clips right now where ICE agents have bounties on them. Their cars are being rammed. They're being attacked. And this just started in Chicago and Portland. And yet the governor seems to not care. And actually in the city of Chicago, they've had stand down orders. When law enforcement, ICE agents are in the city of Chicago and asking for help, requesting for officer help to make sure they try to control the crowd as best as possible so they can do their job, of getting illegal immigrants off the street that Biden and Kamala just let go into the country. I mean, we know that at least 7 to 10 million illegal immigrants have just flooded into the country. So now Donald Trump and Kristi Noem and all these people and Tom Homan and all the people in our administration are trying to make sure that our cities and states are safe by getting them off the streets. But unfortunately, we have a problem right now because the city of Chicago and the police don't seem to want to help. Now, I want to say that the police might want to help, but the problem is that you have people in that, let's just say the chief of police or the superintendent of police, they have bosses, okay? Now, when the mayor says, hey, we're having ice-free zones, okay? Ice-free zones, apparently they're in schools, and this is an ice-free zone. He has said that schools and libraries and garages and parking lots are now ice-free zones. So now ICE apparently are not allowed in any of these areas. So help me understand this. You have federal agents who are here to protect average day citizens, protect every citizen, and make sure illegal immigrants are not on the streets. And yet J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson have said, you know what, we're going to sue you, Donald Trump. We're going to sue you. So let's just go back into this clip. I'm going to show you this clip right now of ICE agents being rammed. This is one of the most dangerous jobs in America right now. Nobody seems to understand that as an ICE agent, you are going to be constantly being attacked. And guess what? The Democratic cities are not going to have your back. Imagine you going into a war zone like Chicago or Baltimore or Memphis, and the city and the mayor say, you know what? You're on your own, guys. Let's just look at this little clip. Now, I want to say something real quick. Pritzker Johnson, who's probably the worst mayor we've ever seen in an American city, has literally said that, you know what, when Donald Trump sends troops, that's racist. Right? Everything now to black people, black Democrats are racist. Donald Trump trying to actually protect cities. Well, I mean, we've seen all the crime in Washington, D.C., and as soon as he sent national troops over to Washington, D.C., no crime. No, the murder stopped. People were getting arrested. The illegal firearms are taken off the streets. Murders had stopped. And like a span of, I believe it was like 14 or 15 days, there was like 0 murders in that area. So you see the proof. You see that it's actually working. And Pritzker Johnson is trying to incite all the people, all the Democrats, to sit there and say, hey, you know what? It's racist because he's sending troops to black-run cities. Well, guess what? The black-run cities are the most violent. That's not racist. It's a stat. It is factual evidence. Memphis is a terrible run city, and it's controlled by Democrats. Chicago is a terrible, violent city, and it's controlled by Democrats. But is it Donald Trump's fault that the Chicago mayor is black and his city just happened to have 54 people shot over Labor Day weekend? What are you doing, Pritzker Johnson, to protect your citizens? It's not Donald Trump's fault that the mayors of these Democratic-run cities are black, and he's trying to sit there and say, hey, look, we're tired of these citizens being shot and killed 24/7. We're going to actually take action. We're going to do something about this. Now, I got to say, the police superintendent, Larry Snelling, who's a black dude, I actually kind of like this guy because he's actually saying, you know what? Even though he might not necessarily agree, he has to make sure that he has the law enforcement's back, whether it's his police or whether it's ICE agents. So he's making it seem like, hey, look, I don't necessarily agree, but as a law enforcement official, you cannot do these things. You cannot just come over here and block agents or ram their vehicles.
Force based on those conditions. Do not box in any law enforcement officer. You are breaking the law when you do that. And you are putting yourself in danger. Following law enforcement agents around. The question is why? What do you plan on doing? It's also reasonable for them to believe that you're eventually going to do harm to them. If you ram any vehicle, especially that one that contains law enforcement agents, and that's any law enforcement, local, state, federal, county, and you do this intentionally, this is considered deadly force. Deadly force is anything that can cause great bodily harm or death. When you plow into a vehicle that contains law enforcement agents, you're using deadly force.
Now, that should go without saying. I mean, you shouldn't even have to say anything like that. But people right now hate ICE, which, by the way, the reason ICE is on the streets right now is because we have a ton of people on our streets that should not be here. Every single country has borders. You think you can just go into Russia or Poland or North Korea or South Korea or Japan or China and just walk in free willy-nilly, and they're just going to let you on the streets and give you all these medical benefits? Do you think that's going to happen in any other country? But yet in America, it happens. And it happens so frequently that now your Democrats are under the impression that because they come to the country illegally, by the way, committing a crime, that if they don't commit any violent crimes, then they're allowed to stay. Wait, hold on. So you're sitting there and saying that you can come across our country illegally, but if you don't commit any violent crimes, you're allowed to stay and get all these benefits under Medicaid. And we see 1.4 million illegal immigrants have already received benefits that are from American taxpayers. But the problem is, and this is the strategic on the Democrats, one thing, even though the Democrats are loony, we know that they are very strategic. And this is what the Democrats are doing because they want to get rid of voter ID. Why do you get rid of voter ID? Because that way illegal immigrants know that the Democrats are going to fund them. So if they get rid of voter ID and all these illegal immigrants start flooding to the polls, well, guess what? Democrats stay in power. Republicans know this too. This is the reason why they want to get rid of voter ID. The Democrats aren't stupid when it comes to this. They are very strategic, because guess what? Brandon Johnson in Chicago, there are so many black people that in Chicago that are on government assistance. What happened was, once these sanctuary cities like Chicago started allowing all these illegal immigrants to flood in, well, guess what? They know that black people 80%, 95% of the time, 80 to 90%, whatever it is, vote Democrat. So they're not in jeopardy of losing those votes, right? So what Brandon Johnson did, he started clearing out those black people that needed assistance from these homeless shelters and all this other stuff, and stop providing them benefits and start taking benefits from the black people that really needed it and started giving it to the legal immigrants, because they know they already have those votes. They don't have to do anything to secure those black votes, because guess what? Chicago is always going to be run by terrible mayors. We saw it with Lori Lightfoot. We saw it with Brandon Johnson. It's always going to happen for whatever reason. And I feel bad for the city of Chicago, because they keep voting these people in. What more do you want? You saw the Democrats, as soon as illegal immigrants, a new trendy topic came in, black people were kicked out. They didn't care about you anymore. They started taking money from you and giving it to the illegal immigrants to make sure they stay in power. And that's why the Democrats are fighting so hard for illegal immigrants, because they don't want voter ID. Gavin Newsom already said this. They don't want voter ID. They want people to go to the polls, vote Democrat so they can stay in power. But let's just see what the governor of Illinois has to say about this whole thing.
Go to Illinois now, where the governor is standing by with Jacob Soboroff, a governor who has been fighting against having federal troops come into his cities and the environs, and as a result has heard it said by the president of the United States that he should be jailed. Jacob, let me throw it over to you and the governor.
Chris, thank you so much. Governor J.B. Pritzker, thanks for joining us live on MSNBC.
How are you, Jake? We're good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. You know as well as I do, the President of the United States in the last 24 hours called for you to be imprisoned. I want to give you an opportunity. We've seen your reaction on social media, but I want to hear what you have to say back to the President of the United States.
Well, let's start with the idea that this is a convicted felon. I mean, think about that, who's threatening to jail me. I got to say, this guy's unhinged. He's insecure. He's a wannabe dictator. And there's one thing I really want to say to Donald Trump. If you come for my people, you come through me. So come and get me.
I hate how Democrats try to act tough like that.
What does that mean exactly, Governor? Do you believe that he would follow through, or that he'll chicken out? He basically said the same thing to Governor Gavin Newsom when I was with him at the height of the raids in the Los Angeles area. Governor Gavin Newsom is walking free in the streets of California. You think that he'll chicken out, or would he ever arrest you?
Well, you know the expression, Trump always chickens out, taco. And I got to say, he can't arrest. We've done nothing wrong here. And very importantly, it's Donald Trump that is breaching the Constitution, breaking the law. We're taking him to court, and I believe we're going to win.
Right now, in the Chicagoland area, the Texas National Guard is staging for a deployment that Governor Greg Abbott has ordered. What's the latest? Do you know where they are, what they're doing at this hour?
Well, to be clear, Donald Trump ordered it and federalized those troops, and Greg Abbott's just going along. This is the same guy, by the way, Greg Abbott, who last year complained when Joe Biden tried to call up his National Guard and actually wrote a letter, signed a letter opposing that. Now he's okay with it, because why? He's a lackey of Donald Trump. So we know that the Texas National Guard has been staging in Illinois. They're not yet, as far as I understand, on the streets, but I want you to know, the federal government is not communicating with our state.
They're not talking to you about where these troops are going.
It's unconscionable. This has never happened.
No, it's not unconscionable. I'll tell you why they're not communicating with you, because they know for a fact if they communicate with you and tell you where they're going, somehow it's going to leak. And all these protesters are going to be in that same exact spot. So all the illegal immigrants know, oh, crap, they're coming. I'm going to stay away from this area. That's the reason why they're not telling you, because they don't trust you with that information.
Before. They're calling out troops onto the streets of a state that doesn't want them. And they're not even telling us where they're going to go, what they're going to do. This hasn't happened, I don't think, since the Civil War.
Let me ask you about the lawsuit. You have sued to stop their deployment. You didn't sue to stop National Guard on a nationwide level. You sued to, correct me if I'm wrong, just the Texas National Guard.
Actually, no. We sued to stop him from calling out the Illinois National Guard, the Texas National Guard, and all other National Guards, because it is unconstitutional.
On the streets, even before the National Guard has made it to the streets of Illinois, you've got the Border Patrol. I was in Cicero yesterday, a 90% Latino population, and I watched as they not only pick people off the streets, but family members would come up to me and ask me where their family members were. I watched you with Rachel the other night here on MSNBC, and you were talking about how CBP has basically used the justification of the 100-mile border rule to allow the deployment here, and they're saying the border of Lake Michigan, the coast of Lake Michigan is the border. Lake Michigan, many people reached out to me and said Lake Michigan doesn't even touch Canada. Are you thinking about suing to stop the deployment of the Border Patrol here as well?
Look, I think it's important to recognize that the Trump administration doesn't seem to respect any laws in the United States. They just do what they want to do, and they'll keep doing
it. And you know, I'm actually glad that he just said that. He is willing to go to court to make sure that Trump and the National Guard and troops don't take illegal immigrants away. That's what they're doing. They're not arresting average day citizens. They're not arresting American citizens. They're arresting people that should not be in this country in the first place. Now, we are all for legal immigration. You know, that's what make America great. People coming over here legally. But if you skip the line and you come over here and you just sneak over here, you need to go back. That's how it works. That is how every single country works. But the Democrats, and this is what I'm going to say, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and JB do not want to protect their citizens. They hate Trump so much that they are going to allow crime, illegal immigrants to run their cities in order to stick it to Trump and say, hey, guess what? We sued the Trump administration. We don't need you over here while people are getting killed left and right. I mean, I can understand this number. This number, 54 people shot in one weekend. Guess what? All committed by black people. And yet Brandon Johnson wants to say, oh, Trump sending troops over here is racist. No, it's not racist. Black people commit more crime than any other racial group in this country. That's the statistical fact. It's not racist. It's the truth. But yet this is another Democratic narrative saying, oh, they want to kick the Hispanics out. Oh, they want to go to black-run cities. No, Trump wants to stop all crime. I guarantee you, if there was a city in Alabama or a city in Tennessee or whatever, obviously Memphis, he would send troops there. If there was a white-run city, he would send troops there. It has nothing to do with skin color, and this is what the Democrats have a problem with. But we're also going to see right now in this next clip, right, that someone in the Chicago Police Department has some answering to do, because when Donald Trump sent the troops over there and he sent 300 troops on the streets, somebody in the Chicago Police Department made some stand-down orders, meaning that the National Guard requested police presence because there were some angry protesters, obviously, and they requested police presence. But somebody higher up in the Chicago Police Department told them to stand down.
Agents who are in danger. Mike Tobin has this story for us. All the details. Hi, Mike.
And Dana, we've got a lot of rank-and-file Chicago police officers behind the scenes telling us that they are outraged that the stand-down order went out to them after federal agents were attacked. The order appears to have come through a communication from the chief of patrol over the communication through the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, reading, no units will respond to this. Multiple police sources have confirmed to us the message is authentic, and it is backed up by audio of the stand-down order.
And again, per the Chief of Patrol, we have all the units that per 999, Chief of Patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location. All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
In an official statement, CPD says officers did respond, writing, quote, CPD responded to the scene to document the incident. CPD officers were also on the scene to maintain safety and traffic control. Now, chaos was triggered when, according to federal prosecutors, two individuals used their cars to ram the cars of Border Patrol agents. One of the agents shot a driver of one attacking vehicle. Those attackers are now charged federally. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says the facts need to play out.
We don't have a lot of facts. Remember, these are the same folks who killed a person, unarmed person, just a couple of weeks ago in Franklin Park. At first, they said that the officer had been threatened with his life. The reality of it and the truth of it has now come out, and that wasn't the case. They killed somebody. They are just putting out their propaganda, and then we've got to later determine what actually happened.
There you go, guys. We have to determine what actually happened instead of actually seeing the evidence. This is JB trying to spin the narrative. This is what the Democrats do. And unfortunately, this is the problem that we have in this country. The Democrats do hate Trump so much that they have neglected the citizens and said, we don't care about your safety. We're going to make this a race issue because we feel like it's best for you. We don't care if illegal immigrants are coming over to this country illegally and flooding the streets and reaping the benefits of American taxpayers. We don't care about that. What we care are votes. What we care about is staying in power. And there's no other way for us to stay in power than to ensure that all these illegal immigrants are in this country and we strip away voter ID so they can vote for the Democrats and we can stay in power. That's what we're going to do, citizens. Now, how is that allowed? Again, even if you are elected by, all these people, you have Americans that are electing you, and then you have people that don't vote for you. Your still main responsibility is to make sure that person who didn't vote for you is safe too. It doesn't matter if they voted for you or not. You still represent them. The president represents everybody in America, not just the people that voted for him. He still represents Democrats. So his main priority is making sure that Democrats are safe. Why else would he send troops to a city that hates Donald Trump? Chicago, New York, LA, they will never, ever, ever vote Republican. But yet Donald Trump is sitting there saying, you know what? Chicago is such a terrible area. I know they hate me. I know they're always going to vote blue, but you know what? I don't want to see those citizens being killed anymore. I don't want to see them being carjacked anymore. You can't even walk on the side of the street past 5 p.m. in Chicago on the south side and west side without being carjacked or robbed. You wear the wrong colors in Chicago, good luck. Have you noticed that because crime in these blue cities has skyrocketed, that everyone now is affected? When was the last time you've been to CVS? Have you looked at CVS? Have you looked at Walgreens? They lock up deodorant. You can't even get sticks of deodorant that costs $4 without having to grab a cashier to unlock it for you, because crime is so out of control, because the Democrats neglect it, because they know that crime, we'll just have to say it. Let's just be honest. The crime is coming from a lot of black people. And instead of the Democrats sitting there acknowledging that, they have to sit there and say, oh, it's economics and it's all this other white privilege that's holding up. No, it's not. Okay? There's a problem in the black community when it comes to crime. I'm sorry, that's what it is. And the Democrats will never admit that. Donald Trump has literally said, you know what, this is what we need to do. I'm sick of people getting killed. We have to send troops out there. And somebody in the police department in Chicago has to answer for that, because if you're doing stand down orders and you're an ICE agent, you are literally on your own. These protests are very well funded. It's not just like these random people just wake up and get their little picket signs and they just start doing all that. No. These are very well funded organizations that are behind these protests. They already know that they have to have their mask on. They're wearing body armor to make sure they're not hit with pepper balls and all this other stuff. And even if they are, they have so much sweaters and so much, armor on that it doesn't affect them. Police are literally getting attacked, okay? And if you're going to have the city of Chicago, these police officers, Brandon Johnson, the mayor, and the governor of Illinois sitting there saying that, look, you're on your own, there's going to be a stand down order, you want to start arresting people, getting them off our streets, you're on your own. That is a tough job for a federal agent, I'll tell you right now. So, the only thing we can do right now is hope that it gets better. But I mean, these American cities are just bad at it. But the problem is when you have illegal immigrants come over here that don't assimilate. America is the greatest country in the world because of the people that are here, the cultures that we have as America, 4th of July, fireworks, and all this other stuff. This is an American culture that with the national anthem. Imagine Dearborn, Michigan. I don't know if you guys have followed anything about Dearborn, Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan is now as an Islamic run city. I mean, the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, literally told a resident, because they were going to name a street off of his name was Osama Sablani, who's like a Palestinian terrorist sympathizer, pretty much, and they have named streets after Osama Sablani. If you haven't looked up the story is crazy. Okay, the Dearborn mayor has named a street off of named after Osama Sablani, and a pastor, a nice reverend, white man, older gentleman, said, "Hey, I don't like that. This doesn't feel like it's an American thing to do, is to name a street off of a Palestinian terrorist sympathizer." And the Dearborn mayor said, "You know what? I don't care how you feel. You need to get out of this city because you are an Islamic phobe." This is what happens when you allow people to come to this country and they do not assimilate to the American culture. And I'm very fearful right now. When you have people that are coming in unchecked, unvetted, who hate America, who knows how many attacks we're going to have. And this is one reason why you need to send all these people back. You got to send them back. You got to make sure they're checked. But for some reason, the Democrats have put politics over safety. And I will never understand it. It's not fair to the residents. It's not fair for the people. Even if you don't vote Republican, it's still not fair to you. Because at the end of the day, just because you have a different political opinion about how things should be ran, you still deserve safety. Republican or Democrat, you still deserve safety, regardless if you voted for Donald Trump. And it's not right that the city of Chicago, the mayor and the governor, don't have your best interests at heart. We need to put Americans first, not illegal immigrants, not these people coming over here flooding our country that have no benefit to our country whatsoever, besides, taking American jobs and putting them out of work, because the American businesses, which should be fined hefty, by the way, are hiring cheap labor instead of hiring an American. So of course, some of these, wealthy business owners like them because they can, hire an illegal immigrant at the price of, for one American. They can hire 5 illegal immigrants at the price of 1 American because they're so cheap. And, that's the problem that we have in this economy. So I hope that, the goal is accomplished. The problem is right now is that the city of Chicago, these criminals, these thugs, these violent people out there, they are not, how do I put this? They are not, going to back down. These thugs out here, these YNs, they call them YNs now, young N-word, that's what they call them. They're looking for trouble. They're looking for bodies. And what that means is that they want to make a name for themselves in the city of Chicago. That's how you build up street cred. That's how you build up a reputation. Chicago is, again, they have the Latin Kings over there. They have the Gangster Disciples over there. They have, so many other gangs over there. They have Vice Lords over there. They have so many different gangs out there that are not going to play nice. You think these gangs are just going to sit there and just, okay, it's curfew time, we're going to go home? No. And that's why the police needs to be out there, because the police know where the gangs at. You have these National Guard troops coming from Texas or wherever. They don't know the strategy of the gangs. That's why you need Chicago police to say, hey, look, over here on this street and that street, this is where these Vice Lords hang out. And over here, this is where the Gangster Disciples hang out. And over here, this is where the Latin Kings hang out. So if we go over here, we need to strategize. We need to strategize on how to do this the exact way, because we know that the leader, who is this guy, has his people out on the corner from 7 or whatever. It needs to be a plan. But if you're just out there sending National Guards out there with no backup, it is a recipe for disaster. So regardless of how the mayor feels, Brandon Johnson, and I know he wants to send those troops back and he's suing the Trump administration or whatever, once they step foot on Chicago soil, they need to have the back of the police department, because again, you're in their area. I can't go into a person's home and say, and start looking for stuff. You're going to know where the scissors are. I'm not going to know where the scissors are. It's your house. So if you literally have these agents out there unsupported being attacked, I mean, why even represent a city in the first place? Why even? If it were me and I was told to stand down and I was a police officer and I know that federal agents are being attacked, I couldn't do it. I would have to lose my job. And I'm sure there's other police officers out there that feel the same exact way, that were like, I don't care what my boss says. I'm going to try to support these guys as best way as possible, because again, federal agents, these ICE agents can't make arrests for everyday citizens, only the people that they're going after when it comes to illegal immigrants. So they're not just able to make street arrests. That's why they need police assistance to make regular arrests. But I don't know. We've for so long, the crime in Chicago has been a huge problem. I mean, every single weekend, black kids are getting killed. And here's the problem. Where's Black Lives Matter at? Does Black Lives Matter, do they care? Where's the protest? Where's Al Sharpton? Where's Benjamin Crump? Where's all these people that care about black lives? Oh, that's right. They only care about black lives when white people are involved. That's right. When it's Derek Chauvin or somebody with a white person, now they start marching because they know they can make $1 of that. They know they can make national headlines when it comes to a white officer and a black person. Say a white officer kills a black person. All of a sudden you're going to see all these BLM and they're going to start marching and start rioting. You're going to see all that. But when black on black crime happens all the time in Chicago or Memphis or whatever other city, you don't see any Black Lives Matter. You don't see any marches. You don't see any rallies. Why is that? Well, that's because they don't really care about black lives, because guess what? Black on black crime is an everyday thing in Chicago. It's like the sun coming up. Do you sit there and clap when the sun comes up? No, because you expect it. It happens every single day. So when a black kid kills another black kid on the streets of Chicago, oh, who cares? It's not news because it happens. But whenever there's a white officer killing a black person or whatever a white person involved in some type of black incident, oh my gosh, the streets are filled with BLM and riots, and it's insane. So I hope America understands that BLM is a sham organization. All the people that pretty much started the organization have been arrested for embezzling funds and stealing all this. And all these chapter presidents or whatever have been caught embezzling funds, stealing all the money. And the Democrats have said nothing about it. So if Black Lives Matter really cared about black people, wouldn't you think that they would say something about all the black deaths in Chicago? I mean, over Labor Day weekend, over the 54 people that were shot, I didn't see, Al Sharpton over there. I didn't see any black people protesting. I didn't see anything about that. But wait, George Floyd, when he was killed, a career criminal, habitual drug user, when he was killed, they built statues and monuments and murals over this guy. It's very hypocritical because they want to bring up Donald Trump's past 24/7. The Democrats, they want to bring up Donald Trump's past with Stormy Daniels and all this other stuff that doesn't matter. But can we talk about George Floyd's past? I mean, wasn't he the same guy that broke into a woman's home with his friend and put a gun to a pregnant woman's belly? Isn't that the same George Floyd? And yet, nobody seems to mention that. The WNBA has a moment for George Floyd. But whenever we want to have a moment for Charlie Kirk, we're called racist. I'm called an Uncle Tom, a coon, because I like Charlie Kirk. And I respect that he was a Christian man who loved his family, who made sure that you're taking care of your family and you have great morals and great values in life. But he was killed for his opinions. But yet George Floyd, who puts a gun to a pregnant woman's belly, is honored. So as a police officer in Chicago, I mean, you're in a position right now. You're in a weird position because even though you might want to help, the federal officers and the ICE agents, they're just like you and me. They're not these superheroes. They are heroes, but they're not like made of all these power. They're just like you and me. They need backup. They need assistance. But if your boss is telling you, hey, look, you got to stand down. I don't want you helping those officers. Do you stand down? It seemed like a lot of officers were standing down. And now all of a sudden, the police chiefs are saying, oh, no, I don't know where that came from. That never happened. Now you say that because it made national news and we caught you. We caught you on that stand down order. Stand down orders come from the top. It's not like a random officer or a patrol officer can make a stand down order. Okay, that came from the top. And somebody told on you. Somebody told on you that you made that stand down order. And now you're backtracking, doing this PR stuff saying, oh, I don't know where that came from. That's not accurate. We got to look into this. We got to investigate. No. It for sure came down. So as a police officer in Chicago, you're in a moral compass right now. You got to figure out what are you going to do when another stand down order comes and this federal officer, this ICE agent needs your help, needs backup. Do you help him? Or do you just follow the boss's order with another stand down order? Because the mayor and the governor are going to do whatever they can to make sure these federal agents fail. They're going to make their job difficult. And you heard the governor say, this is unprecedented. I can't believe they wouldn't give us any information telling us where they're going to be. I can't believe that. What's wrong with them? Why would they ever not tell us any information? The reason why they're not giving you information, because they don't trust anybody in Chicago, because we all know you're going to give them any information. You're going to take that information and you're going to spread it. And all of a sudden, when ICE agents show up, all the illegal immigrants are somehow gone. But guess what? But guess what's there? Protesters. Now, how did the protesters know exactly where those ICE agents were going to be, huh? Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird that we trolled the mayor's office where we're going to be and what time, and all of a sudden there's no illegal immigrants, but there's cameras and protesters there? Huh. Well, now they're on to you. Now they're on to you, Johnson. Mayor Johnson of Chicago, now they're on to you. So now they're not going to tell you guys anything. They're just going to show up and start arresting people, because that's what they need to do, because they don't trust anybody in Chicago. And we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next coming days, the next coming weeks. But I want them to be safe. I want the Chicago officers to be safe. But at the same time, I believe that the police over there have been allowing crime to just happen for years and years and years. And honestly, there's nothing they can do, because we know that the gangs run the streets of Chicago. The police don't run anything. Okay, as unfortunate as it is, the police don't do jack, because in Chicago, the gangs run everything. That's why you see 30, 40 murders every single weekend. It's what happens. What can you do? You can't do anything about it. So that's why Trump has said, enough is enough. I'm going to send a National Guard out there. We're going to protect our citizens, and we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. And if you're a police officer, you're going to be like, yes, that's going to be great. Now we can finally do something about this crime. But the problem is it's only for 30 days. Okay. You can't send them forever. So I think I don't know, because you have a lot of gangs out there. You have a lot of gangs that don't care about police. Obviously you have a lot of, and just because the federal agencies are out there now with ICE making sure that they do their job, they need backup. And I don't know if they're going to be able to get the backup that they need, because obviously they were caught doing stand down orders. So it's going to be very going to be interesting next coming days on how this is going to be. I hope these officers are going to be safe. I hope police are going to be safe. But unfortunately, the city of Chicago is corrupt. Brandon Johnson is corrupt. The Illinois governor is corrupt, and they care more about money and policy than they do the safety of their citizens. All right, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'm out of here.